by Michael Sandler. Climbing Mount Everest. The clock showed almost midnight. The temperature was freezing. Icing winds roared by. A group of people huddled in the darkness on a rocky ridge. In moments, they would begin the final stage of a dangerous journey. They were climbing to the top of Mount Everest, the world's highest mountain. Among the climbers was Tembas Sherpa. Just 2 weeks before, Tembas had celebrated his 16th birthday. Now he was going to survive in one of the world's most extreme places. Making it to the top of Everest was Tembas' dream. He would be the youngest person to ever reach the summit, which is 29,035 feet, 8,850 meters high. What are mountains? Mountains are a type of tall landform. They rise high above the area around them. Mountains are taller than hills. They can rise thousands of feet, kilometers in the air. They are found all over the world, even beneath the sea. A group of mountains is called a range. The highest mountain range in North America is the Rocky Mountains. The Andes in South America is the world's longest mountain range. Mount Everest, the mountain Tembas was climbing, is part of the Himalaya Mountains. The name Himalaya means home of snow. This Asian range is the world's highest. It includes 9 of the 10 tallest mountains on Earth. Mountains cover 1/4 of the Earth's land surface. Mountain conditions. As Tembas approached Everest summit, arrival became harder and harder. The mountain conditions get more extreme and higher a person climbs. The air contains less and less oxygen as the altitude increases. Breathing becomes nearly impossible. Thin air can cause headaches and dizziness at 10,000 feet, 3,048 meters. Higher up, it can be deadly. Humans cannot survive for long at the top section of mountains like Everest. Hurricane-force winds can reach 130 miles per hour, 209 kilometers per hour. Temperatures can plummet to -100 degrees Fahrenheit, -73 degrees Celsius during the night. Blowing snow makes it hard to see. Tembas was headed here. Frostbite can happen when it's so cold that hands, feet, and other parts of the body freeze solid. Frostbite can cause people to lose fingers, toes, even their noses. Why do people climb mountains? People climb mountains for many reasons. Some enjoy the thrill of being high above the clouds. Others like the challenge of testing their skills. For decades, however, reaching up to the top of Everest was a test that no climber could pass. The first attempts to climb Everest were made during the 1920s. Again and again, the climbing team stopped short of their goal. Avalanches, storms, sickness, and exhaustion brought them to a halt. Then, in 1953, 2 climbers finally succeeded. Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay. Sir Hillary was from New Zealand. Norgay was a Sherpa from Nepal. Tembas' mistake. Tembas had tried to climb Everest before. It ended, however, in failure. "I didn't have enough training or proper equipment," Tembas said. He was almost at the summit when his oxygen supply ran out. Without oxygen, Tembas couldn't think clearly. He made a terrible mistake. He took off his gloves to tie his boots. His fingers froze. Tembas suffered frostbite on both hands. He had to turn back just 70 feet, 21 meters from his goal. The next time around, however, Tembas was prepared. He had trained hard. He had the right equipment thanks to his classmates and teachers. They had raised money for his trip. Survival equipment. Climbing suit to protect against cold. Gloves to keep hands warm and dry. Goggles to protect eyes from the sun's harmful rays and reflection off snow. Oxygen mask and tank for breathing at the highest altitudes. Ice axe to help climb slopes and break up ice. Climbing ropes to climb up slopes. Trekking poles to help a climber stay balanced. Mounting boots with spikes that dig into the snow and ice. Camp to camp. Tembas' second try began in April 2001. Mount Everest sits between Nepal and Tibet. There are several different routes to the top. Temba would take a route from the north, the Tibetan side. Climbers move from one camp to the next, hire one, and then rest for a while. At each camp, their bodies get used to the higher altitudes. Temba spent several weeks moving between camps with his team. At Camp 3, the team waited for a break in the weather. Winter was over, but there had been a series of severe snowstorms. Getting caught in a snowstorm farther up in the mountain would be deadly. The climb up Everest officially begins at the base camp. Climbers stay in tents there so their bodies get used to the lower levels of oxygen. The climb along the ridge. On May 20th, Tembas' team reached Camp 4. Then the climbers headed out on the great ridge leading to the summit. Temba plunged his axe into the ice walls, pulling himself up. He steadied himself against 50-mile-per-hour, 80-kilometer-per-hour winds. Yet he climbed higher and higher. Temba had to move fast or die. Darkness stopped him before he got to Camp 5. His team had gone ahead. Luckily, Temba found a tent. He spent the night frightened and alone. The next day, Temba rejoined his team. They reached Camp 6, one-day climb from their goal. Climbers use aluminum ladders to cross deep cracks in the ice called crevices. The crevices are constantly opening and closing, so it is very dangerous. Reaching the top of the world. Just before midnight, Temba began his final climb. A headlamp lit the darkness, and oxygen mask helped Temba to breathe. Sometimes he'd stop to rest or to change oxygen bottles. Just after sunrise, Temba reached Mount Everest summit. He was higher than anyone else on the planet. Temba planted 2 flags. One was for his school, the other was for Nepal. "I feel so happy," he said. It is dangerous for climbers to spend more than 10 minutes at the top of Everest. The body needs to get to a lower altitude where there is more oxygen. Will the mountain survive? Temba survived in the mountains. Now he wants to make sure the mountains survive. The world's mountains face many different threats. Trash is one problem. For a while, Everest was called the world's highest garbage dump. The mountain was littered with tons of trash that climbers left behind. Batteries, bottles, and empty oxygen tanks. Many climbers didn't have the time or strength to carry these things back down with them. Global warming is another problem. As Earth gets warmer, mountain glaciers are melting. Himalayan lakes are swelling up with water. When they flood, mountain landscapes will be changed forever. In 2005, the snow cap on Tanzania's Mount Kilimanjaro melted for the first time in history. After the climb. When Temba came down from Everest, he was thinking about food, not theme. After weeks of camping, he was starving for home cooking. Still, while he flew home to Kathmandu, a huge crowd was waiting. Temba couldn't believe it. "I had never seen so many cameras. All of them were pointed at me," he said. Despite the attention, Temba focused on his schoolwork. He needed a good education to achieve his other dream, starting a school in Dol Aqua. Will Temba succeed? Only time will tell. If you survived on Everest, however, and reached the top, no goal seems too high. Temba smiled at supporters who greeted him at the Kathmandu airport after he successfully climbed Mount Everest. Kathmandu is the capital and the largest city of Nepal. The end.